Hello there, my beautiful friends. Today we are going to be throwing it back here for a minute and doing something that I haven't done on my channel in a very long time, and that is of course palette make-believes. I haven't seen anyone do something like this recently on YouTube, and people used to do it all the freaking time, so I figured why not bring it back and show you guys a make-believe palette that I put together myself. So if you are interested in seeing this make-believe palette, then go ahead and keep on watching and let's jump right on in. God, these videos all stemmed from the days of MakeupStruggles. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I used to watch her religiously and I miss her every day. I miss her presence just here on YouTube and her content. She just had the best content in the whole world and I miss her dearly. But she came up with palette redesigns back in the day, or maybe she didn't even come up with them, but she made them popular amongst many people in the beauty community. I was one of the people who really took to that idea of redesigning palettes and making palettes our own. So I used to make these types of videos all the time as well, and I haven't made one in quite some time. And I was feeling a little bit inspired to make an Angelic themed palette. Now you're going to see in just a moment what this palette looks like, and it is not exactly the epitome of the Angelic theme. If I were to make this a 100% angel themed kind of cutesy type of palette, it would consist of baby pinks and lavenders and whites, but I've done a few palettes like that here on my channel before, so I tried to still keep with the kind of angelic, heavenly, cutesy theme. But of course I didn't just want to show you guys the same things that I've already done here on my channel before, so I did my best to keep with the angelic theme while still bringing you guys something fresh and new that you haven't seen yet from me. But without further ado, this is the Angelic palette that I put together. Now I wanted to create something that was a little bit smaller, that you could break into different columns and just use the individual columns themselves. As you can see, we have 3 columns here, and I wanted them to basically be interchangeable with each other, but of course have their own specific color scheme, so you could pair them together, but you could also just use the 3 shades in one column. I know Charlotte Tilbury does that a lot, and personally I think it's really user-friendly for a lot of people, so I like the idea of that. So when I was creating this palette, I knew that I wanted to create an absolutely beautiful highlighter that just embodied the angelic theme to me, and of course that is that large bar of iridescent white gold goodness at the top there, which I decided to name Angel Wings. Now I've put a lot of iridescent white golds in my little palette redesigns and palette make-believes before, because a girl loves a good iridescent white gold, super bright and intense. I absolutely love and live and die for shades like that. But I wanted to kind of amp it up a little bit differently here. Instead of just having the basic kind of iridescent white gold thing going on, there's a little bit of orange in there as well, which will give it a bit more warmth and give it a little bit less starkness to it. So I wanted to make something obviously that would be usable by most people. Clearly this is super light and intense, so it's not going to be for everybody. But because there is a little smidge of warmth added in there, I figured that more people would be inclined to want to use a highlighter like that versus just your traditional iridescent white gold. And of course this guy would be extremely shimmery and extremely intense, because that's just the way that I roll, and to me this embodies Angel Wings perfectly. So jumping into the first row of my little faux eyeshadows here, we have the very first shade, which is an iridescent pale lilac with gold and pink shimmers and a gold and pink shift. And I decided to name this shade Golden Lilac. Now, even though that name doesn't really have anything to do with the angelic theme per se, I feel like this color just embodies anything and everything that I would personally want from an angelic palette, because I knew that I had put a lot of pinks and lavenders and lilacs and really light iridescent colors in palettes before in this series. I knew I had to at least put one in, and so I decided to kind of mash them up all into one beautiful, super iridescent, super shimmery, multi-chrome deliciousness here, which of course is Golden Lilac. This would be a beautiful topper. This would be a beautiful eyeshadow just worn on its own, a highlighter, even a blush. You could make a shade like this whatever the heck you want it to be. I have quite a few in my collection that are somewhat along the lines of this color scheme, and they are absolutely to die for. And to me, this guy represents the angelic theme perfectly. I absolutely love this type of color. Moving right on down, we have the shade Heaven. Of course, we have to have a shade named Heaven, and this is a soft matte taupey pink. Now, I don't know if you can tell by my eye look today, but I have very much so been into more kind of cool toned taupes. I don't know, I'm going through this weird phase of actually liking taupey cool tones. which I truly never thought would happen, but we're just here. That's just where we are in 2020, and it's weird, but I like it. I feel like a soft kind of taupey, kind of mauvey pinky shade is perfect for this theme. It just gives you a very soft and blown out type of look, and I feel like this type of shade really complements a lot of skin tones as well. Then we have the shade Cupid right underneath. Now, I personally love the name Cupid for anything makeup related. I remember that Lime Crime came out with a velveteen named Cupid, and I went out and purchased it just because of the name, like solely for that reason, and this shade was super cute too. It was like a soft, kind of rosy pink. I don't know. I absolutely love the idea of having a Cupid themed makeup collection, so I knew I had to sneak that in here somewhere. But this is a soft matte taupey mauve. It's a little bit deeper and a little bit more cool toned, a little bit more mauvey than Heaven. This is the type of shade that pairs perfectly with Heaven and with Golden Lilac. You could put Golden Lilac all over the lid, then you could throw a little bit of Heaven in the crease to kind of blow things out, and then finally you intensify it with Cupid, and you would have the most gorgeous purpley, taupey, mauvey kind of cool toned look. I am gonna have to recreate this in real life. It is just too good to not recreate. I am absolutely obsessed with colors like this right now, and I really think that it is a very unique yet still kind of neutral and soft color selection. But let's go ahead and jump into this second row with the shade Divinity, which is a multichromatic golden, orange, pink, and green ultra shimmery multichromatic shade. I absolutely love the color of this fake eyeshadow, and I wish it was real. I'm sure that Clionadh out there somewhere has a shade that looks very similar to this, but this is actually a picture of a nail polish that I found online on Amazon, and I'll have it linked if you want a color like this for your nails, not affiliated or anything like that. I simply was just looking for multichromatic shades, and nail polishes have so many beautiful different multichromatic shades to choose from, so I figured that was a good place to search for this palette. This is such a beautiful multichromatic color. This is the kind of color where you could put it on your lids and just have like a kiss of multichromatic shine, and in the light, when the sun hits your eyes a certain way or the light hits your eyes a certain way, you get a splash of green here and a splash of gold there and a little bit of pink. Or you could put this all over a black base or a deeper toned base, and you are going to have high impact multichromatic shimmery goodness with all sorts of different colors running throughout it. I love colors like this. I love super kind of soft, shimmery, almost sheer formulas that have a bunch of different colors in them, because you can pair them up or pair them down to be a lot more intense or very, very soft. And personally, I love the variation in that. It's almost like getting two different types of shadows in one if you happen to own a few different deeper tones. You can make so many different looks with shades like this, and I think that the color combination of shades here is so gorgeous. I really hope somebody out there has a shade like this. If you know of one, girl, let me know in the comments below so I can get my paws on it. But moving right on down here, we have a very standout shade. It kind of looks a little off-putting in this palette, but I still think that it works with everything else, and this is the shade Halo. I think you see why I named it that, because this is a pale cream lemon yellow matte. I knew I wanted to put in something that would represent the halo that little cartoon angels have, and I wanted something to be either yellow or gold, and I figured with this color scenario, with this whole angelic theme, we want something a little bit lighter and softer and more pastel, and I have a particular eyeshadow from Sydney Grace Cosmetics called Lemon Cream, and I just envisioned that in this palette, and to me it worked perfectly. And while the idea of mixing a pale yellow with some of the taupes that I've put in here, or some of the deeper tones that we're gonna get into, might seem a little bit scary and like they might clash, I think that this yellow is just perfect because it's not too overly like lemonade yellow. It's a little bit softer, it's a little bit more cream toned, so I do think that because of just the hint of lemony yellow that's in there, it's not going to be so overwhelming to the point where it would clash with the other types of taupes. And honestly, when I put this shade in this palette, it wasn't so much to go along with the other mattes and to play nicely with the rest of the mattes. It was more so to complement some of the beautiful multichromatic shades. This guy, I feel like, will pair perfectly with all of the beautiful multichromes that are in this little faux palette here, and that's basically what it's for. It's for people like me who personally like to just kind of throw a light matte in the crease and then pack a buttload of multichromatic shimmery goodness all over the lids. It is for people who like that kind of makeup style, and I feel like because it's so light and airy, it really does kind of mix in well with the angelic theme of the palette. And the final shade in the column is called Cherub, and that name, just like with Cupid, just gets me. I really want somebody to come out with a like cherub Cupid themed makeup collection. I would buy literally everything in that collection hands down. I absolutely love the idea of it. It's so stinking cute, so somebody make that happen, please. But I digress. This is a mid-toned berry mauve matte. Now, I feel like this would pair beautifully with the shade Halo. I love like pale lemony yellows with berry tones. I remember about 2 years ago, Maybelline came out with a Lemonade Craze palette, and it had a nice mix of kind of lemony yellows mixed with berry tones, and ever since then I have just been in love with that color combination. I think that this entire row goes really nicely together, and of course I think you can pair it with a lot of things and it would look nicely as well. Obviously berry mixes nicely with taupe, and I think that it also mixes nicely with some of the other metallics and multichromes that we have in here. So moving along to the final column, we are getting started with the shade Celestial, which is a multichrome dusty berry rose with rose gold and pink shimmers. As you can see, the base pigment of this multichrome shade is not nearly as sheer as the other two that are at the tops of the rose. It's much deeper in tone, but it's still a little bit dustier, a little bit more muted. I didn't want anything too bright and intense in this palette because I don't really think of super bright and intense colors when I think of an angelic themed palette. I think of very soft, kind of dusty, muted tones, and I feel like this is perfect for some of the deeper tones that we have in here, because just because it's an angelic themed palette doesn't mean it just has to be all pale pastel shades. I think you can still have some deeper tones with that theme and still represent the angelic theme pretty well. So that's really what I was trying to go for here, and I hope I achieved it. I think this color is absolutely beautiful. I love the dusty aspect of it. It's not very often that we see a lot of deeper toned multichromes that aren't super intense in base pigment, and this would be the exact opposite of that. I wouldn't want anything with too harsh of a base pigment in it, and that is exactly this. Plus, we have rose gold and pink shimmers and shifts in this eyeshadow. How can you go wrong with that color combo? So the second to last shade in this palette is called Ethereal, and as you can see by the names of this particular column, I wanted everything to still be under the angelic umbrella theme, if you will, but everything's a bit more space themed almost, because when I think of angelic themed things, I definitely think of the kind of lighter, airier, heavenly side of it, if you will, but I also think of kind of plummy colors, and I think of things that kind of relate to space in a way. But Ethereal is a matte, deep, cool eggplant mauve. Obviously there are some taupes in this palette, and I wanted to create a column that still contained the kind of taupey essence but just made it a little bit deeper, and I feel like this plummy kind of eggplant taupe is perfect. I feel like it goes nicely with some of the other colors in this palette, and I mean, this is a fake palette, but I still would make it inclusive for other people, so I think this would be a nice color for a bunch of different skin tones as well. And the final shade in this palette is Eternal, the more cool toned, more ashy toned sister of Ethereal. Ethereal definitely has a similar vibe. It's just much more eggplant toned and much more berry toned, if you will, versus Eternal, which has a bit more of a gray undertone. Although it's not gray by any means, it definitely has much more of a cool kind of ashy hint to it. But those are all of the colors that I wanted to include in this angelic themed palette. I know you're probably thinking to yourself, what the hell? Where are the baby pinks? Where is the baby lavender? Where are the lighter toned pink colors? I mean, they seem to be pretty absent from this palette. But as I stated at the beginning of this video, I have done so many different types of videos on my channel as far as palette predictions and palette designs go, where I've included those types of shades in a similar color scheme to this one. And while I feel like the perfect angelic palette would have baby pinks and baby toned lilacs and just beautiful pastels, I wanted to still stick to the angelic theme but just make it a little bit different and something that you guys really haven't seen before. And while it's not perfect, I'm pretty darn happy with the outcome. I would use this palette all the time, especially right now with this weird like mauve taupe phase that I'm going through. I would reach for this all the stinking time if it was real. And I really do hope that somebody someday comes out with an angel themed palette or like a cherub collection or just something really cutesy like this sometime in the future, because you already have my money if you come out with a cherub collection or an angelic collection. You have my money already, so let's just make this happen, people. I think that would be so stinking cute, and that is so right up my alley as far as things that I like and things that I like to collect. My entire room surrounding me right now has like an angelic kind of cherub theme to it. I'm one of those weird people who collects like little figurines and whatnot, and I have Hello Kitty dressed as an angel, angel up in the corner over there, and I just love things like that. And so a makeup collection coming out like that would be perfect for me, and I know I'm not the only one. But with that being said, I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you enjoyed seeing this little palette make-believe mock-up here that I put together. And let me know in the comments what colors you would like to add to this type of color scheme, what colors you'd like to take away from it. If you have, you know, a better color selection for an Angelic palette, let me know in the comments below, because I'm sure a lot of you out there can make some improvements to this. So let's spark up a conversation in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more like this, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. Like I said, I hadn't done a video like this in a very long time, but I had a whole heck of a lot of fun putting together these shades and putting together this palette. So you're probably going to see a resurgence of this type of video here on my channel. But with that, that is going to be wrapping up today's video. So thank you so much for watching. You mean the world to me, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend it here on my channel. It really does mean the world to me. I appreciate the heck out of you. But with that being said, I hope you are having an absolutely amazing and beautiful day wherever you are, and thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope to see you next time. Bye!